Say Chelsea have got a here we go on Gittins from Dortmund, and they're about to hijack a deal for Pedro of Brighton. He was meant to be going to Newcastle. Chelsea have now swooped in. This is just welcome to the world of Premier League transfers. Chelsea have always been ridiculously quick. They've always had a reputation of swooping in and stealing deals. They've done that for years. And I think Newcastle just have to resign themselves to the fact they're not getting Joao Pedro. Chelsea have got a very good history with Brighton. Numerous players, Cucurella, Casido, numerous players, there's probably more, who've gone from Brighton to Chelsea. And it's almost starting to become what Southampton were to Liverpool all those years ago, the feeder club. Chelsea will get this deal done. I expect this to be done in the next 24 hours, to be honest with you. I think Joao Pedro is a very interesting signing. I can see why Newcastle would have been looking at him. It's the sort of player that you want at Newcastle. And I do feel sorry for Newcastle because I think Mbeumo would have been perfect for their system. I understand why they're going for Elanga. I understand why they're going for Joao Pedro. But they're now seeing the challenge as well of getting these players when it's such a competitive Premier League. And I mean, Chelsea are just stacking them up, aren't they? As I said, they had the here we go last night for Dortmund's Gittins. I thought they had about 1 million wingers, but I don't think they actually do. I think they've got Neto, who I think is a really good winger, Madueke, obviously Sancho's gone, Mudrik's going to get banned. So you've got Neto, Madueke, Esteval's coming in from Palmeiras, he looks good. They're going to bring Gittins in. 4 very good wingers there, by the way. Then they've got Delap, you bring Joao Pedro in. My only question about Chelsea is here, and I want to go back to Isaac in a moment, but it just popped into my head. Do you agree with the Chelsea transfer policy? It seems to me, if you're not 23 or under, you're not coming in. And I was speaking to a Chelsea fan on the Brazilian watch-along we did yesterday on this channel, and they were basically saying it's a wage thing. We have a wage structure. So if you go for a 25-year-old, they're probably going to want bigger wages because they're more established in the game. So Chelsea don't mind spending big transfer fees, but their wage structure is why they go for younger players. I still am going to say this about Chelsea. Gittins, good signing, but it's more of the same. Esteval, good signing, but it's more of the same. Pedro, good signing, more of the same. Liam Delap, good signing, more of the same. What's more of the same? Learner drivers. You never seem to want to go for the established Osman or the established Emi Martinez in goal. And I think that, when I look at Chelsea and people say to me, do you think Chelsea can win the league? You can win the league. You've got an amazing squad. You've got an amazing ambition. But I just think you're missing out by not going for 2 or 3 experienced players. I actually think Thiago Silva was a big loss. Really, I think that sort of player, world-class experienced player, is exactly what Chelsea need in goal and up front, but they just seem to be locked in on 23 or under, and it's almost like they think they're going to build this team that's going to dominate in 2 or 3 years' time. If it does, I think it'll be the first team in Premier League history that's sort of built a young team and grown it into an experienced team. It's interesting. Personally, I think for years I've been saying get an experienced striker there, but I think Pedro will end up being there.
So Chelsea are in for Joao Pedro, and do you know what's really funny? I was literally just thinking that is exactly what Chelsea need. Another sort of hybrid forward who doesn't really know what his best position is, but yet can contribute in certain ways. But does he actually ever play in the starting 11? Who knows? I was just thinking that's exactly what they need. But do you know what? Like I've said so many times before, I've just stopped trying to work out what Chelsea are actually doing in the transfer market. I've just sort of gone, Joao Pedro, they'll probably sign him. They'll probably sign another 4 or 5 young talented attackers this summer. And that's fine. Apparently he's worth £60 million to Brighton, and Chelsea are apparently going to push for him. So if he goes to Chelsea for £60 million, then they've just dropped £55 million on Gittins, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and £60 million on Joao Pedro, £115 million between them, which... does it hugely improve that starting 11? I don't think so. But like I said, I've stopped trying to work it out. Gittins makes sense, right? Exciting, talented, young left winger. Chelsea don't actually really have many left wingers. They've been playing Madueke and Neto over on that side. Obviously, they've got Esteval coming in, who's a right winger. So this makes more sense, of course. But £55 million is also a lot of player for somebody who was very inconsistent, very hit and miss in the Bundesliga last season. In the Champions League, obviously showed huge flashes of talent, is a brilliant dribbler of the ball, is very direct, can go on either side, can finish. Obviously, he loves that little finish where he just shifts it out and whips it into that right corner. Scored a few of those lovely goals in the Champions League this season. But I don't know, that signing could still go one of 2 ways, really. And yeah, that for me is like a good signing, a fine signing, and Joao Pedro, if he does end up going to Chelsea, that would just make no sense to me. But like I said, I'll stop trying to guess what they're doing.
Chelsea are absolutely obsessed with Brighton, aren't they? I'm joking, but there's a bit of a tug of war going on at the moment between Chelsea and Newcastle for the signing of Joao Pedro. I said a couple of weeks back that I wasn't massively hot on the Joao Pedro to Newcastle thing. I get that they need to add a versatile attacker to their squad, but he didn't feel like the right kind of fit, or he didn't necessarily feel like the sort of player that they should be spending that kind of money on. I feel like they need to go and get a marquee right winger that might offer them that versatility, because that is the key area in that front line that needs upgrading. For Chelsea, despite the fact that people are going to get annoyed about Chelsea spending a lot of money again, picking up another player from Brighton again, maybe a player that they don't obviously necessarily need considering they've already brought in a striker, I actually think it makes more sense for them. Other than Esteval, who has said that he wants to play in the 10 for Chelsea during his career there, they don't really have anyone to kind of deputise Cole Palmer. He also can play off the left. Will they sign Gittins and Pedro as well? Potentially. They've also got Madueke that can play over there. Obviously, they're going to be in the Champions League as well as Newcastle. Again, having three strikers, Delap, Pedro and Jackson, how do you manage that? Unless Jackson maybe does go out the door. I don't know, but I kind of feel like as a backup rotation 10 to Cole Palmer, maybe it does make slightly more sense for them. I just feel like Newcastle should be looking at a right winger predominantly that can offer them that versatility of playing inside as well. Someone like a Harvey Elliott, I think potentially would be great for Newcastle. A Kudus would be great for Newcastle. Someone that can offer them that creativity but also play as a winger. I don't really feel like they need to be spending that much money on Joao Pedro, whereas Chelsea, although it doesn't make loads of sense, I think it makes more sense for them. And I'm thinking of Tobes here when I say this, and I know a lot of Chelsea fans are going to be a little bit like, oh, it's another player that can sort of play as a striker, sort of play as a 10. We don't really know what it is. We don't want it to be another Nkunku. I think Pedro has kind of got that bite and arrogance that he just feels like a Chelsea player, and I feel like he'll do well for them.
And I do feel sorry for Newcastle because I think Mbeumo would have been perfect for their system. I understand why they're going for Elanga. I understand why they're going for Joao Pedro, but they're now seeing the challenge as well of getting these players when it's such a competitive Premier League. And they went for Mbeumo, they got rejected. They went for Elanga, they've got rejected. They're now going for Pedro at Brighton, and they're going to get rejected. They've had 2 bids rejected by Brighton. Chelsea have now swooped in. This is just welcome to the world of Premier League transfers. Chelsea have always been ridiculously quick. They've always had a reputation of swooping in and stealing deals. They've done that for years. And I think Newcastle just have to resign themselves to the fact they're not getting Joao Pedro. Chelsea have got a very good history with Brighton. Numerous players, Cucurella, Casido, numerous players, there's probably more, who've gone from Brighton to Chelsea. And it's almost starting to become what Southampton were to Liverpool all those years ago, the feeder club. Chelsea will get this deal done. I expect this to be done in the next 24 hours, to be honest with you. I think Joao Pedro is a very interesting signing. I can see why Newcastle would have been looking at him. It's the sort of player that you want at Newcastle. I mean, Chelsea are just stacking them up, aren't they? And from a Newcastle point of view, they're probably looking at Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and thinking, we sort of want to be in that argument and we're not doing anything in this window.